So in this video, we're continuing to discuss the general principles of what creates speed. Specifically, we're discussing how to create a lot of propulsion. And what we're going to talk about with one of these skills is the idea of setting up the stroke with the upper body to open the armpit and then creating propulsion by closing the armpit. So the main idea here is that to create an effective pull, the muscles of the back and then the chest, the lats and the pecs, are going to be powering the pull. However, in order to do so, the arm needs to be in a position where those muscles can contract for a longer period of time in strong positions in order to create a lot of force. And those positions generally start with an open armpit so that there's a lot of space in the armpit, and then the armpit closes upon contraction of those muscles, and that's what allows athletes to create a lot of propulsion and move themselves forward. And that pull needs to happen when the arm is positioned to create a lot of surface area. So in the first couple videos, we discussed how it's important to position the arm to create a large surface area. What's also important is that the arm is positioned in a way that the strongest muscles of the upper body can contract for a long period of time to create propulsion. And that's what we're going to take a look at here. So first, we're going to take a look at freestyle. And so with this athlete, is going to achieve this position here, you can see that there's a lot of space in their armpit, and that means that the chest muscles and the back muscles are lengthened, and when they're lengthened, they have a high potential to create a lot of force because they can contract for a long period of time. And then as the athlete pulls back right here, you can see that that space in the armpit collapses because the muscles of the chest and the back are contracted. And so if athletes are creating positions where there's not a lot of space, they're not going to be able to pull backwards for a long period of time, or they're not going to be able to pull backwards for a long period of time with the strongest muscles of the upper body. So again, we'll take a look at it here. The athlete's in position, and like we saw before, they create that big surface area, but just as importantly, there's a lot of space in the armpit. And so the armpit is wide open, and then during the pull, it closes down right away. So we can see this a little bit faster speed. It's open and then it closes. It's open here and then it closes. Those are the positions that need to be achieved in order to create a lot of propulsion so that the strongest muscles can do the work. Otherwise, weaker muscles are going to have to do the job. So we'll take a look at another athlete here. So armpit is open and then it closes right there. And so the more effectively athletes can do that, the faster they're going to swim. So we'll take another look at the same dynamic here in sprint freestyle. And the reason we'll look at the sprint freestyle is because the timing changes a little bit, and that reflects a little bit differently in how athletes pull through the water. But you can see here, there's a big space here in their armpit, and then it closes down by the end of it so that the athlete can create a lot of propulsion using those strongest muscles. And so right here, and then big space, and now the space is closed. You can see that the arm is squeezed tight to the body. The armpit's completely closed. And then when the athlete's got the arm out in front, the elbow sliding out to the side, that makes a big space, and then everything collapses here. So same dynamics, just different timing. So we'll watch backstroke here. And so right here, now we're in a position, you can see that there's a lot of space, and now that space is closing down. Right there, there's a lot of space, and then the space is closing down. You can see that in the opposite arm right here. There's a big space in that armpit, and then towards the end, that space all collapses down. A different athlete here, big space. There's a lot of space right in that armpit, and then it collapses down. See the same thing with the other athlete in the back, big space there, and then it collapses down. And so it's the same basic action in all of the strokes because the same muscles are doing the work. And so to create a great pull, you need to get in good positions in terms of surface area, but you also need to have athletes get in good positions so that they can use the strongest muscles to do the work. Otherwise, they're either not going to be able to create the necessary speed, or they're only going to be able to create that speed for such a short time because they're simply going to get too tired. So you can see the big space. You can see that you can literally see his armpit there, and that's a ton of space. And then it closes down. There's a ton of space, and then it closes down. So again, same dynamics. This one is a great angle, so you can see all that space here, and then closes down. So you can see all that space here, and then closes down. Tons of space, and then the strongest muscles do the work to close it down. So with butterfly, watch from underneath, and you can see the paths here. So big space in between in that armpit, and then stays pretty big. And as the athlete pulls, you can see it all closes down and all disappears. So again, same dynamics because the athletes need to use the resources they have, which are the strongest muscles of the upper body, and then it closes down as they take that pull. Watch from a different angle here. You can see big space there and then closes it down. And again, just represents creating positions where swimmers can take most advantage of the resources they have so that they can create a big surface area and they can power that pull with the strongest muscles they have. Again, another athlete here, big, see the armpits are open, and then they close down with the pull. Took one more look at a butterfly swimmer because you can really see it here. So you can see how much space, you can see the shoulder blades are sliding out, really creating more space. And then right there, it all closes down, it all disappears. And so big space, and then closes it down. And so another example of the same basic mechanics being used to create speed. So lastly, we'll take a look at breaststroke. And again, it's going to be very similar to butterfly. You can see here, just as the video we just watched, big open armpit, and then it closes all down, and that space disappears. So space, and then close. Space, and then close. Watch from a different angle here. Big space, and then closed. Big space, and then closed. Like we talked about before, swimmers are orienting their arms to create surface area. That's why they have a high elbow catch. That's why they have an early vertical forearm. All those skills are basically to create a big surface area. In terms of the action of the pull, it's so that they can use the strongest muscles of the upper body in order to create propulsion. If they choose to do otherwise, they either won't be able to create the same amount of speed or they won't be able to sustain it. So same thing with another athlete here. Opens the armpit and then closes it. Opens the armpit and then closes it. So again, accomplishing the dual function of creating a big surface area and using the strongest muscles to move that surface area backwards. So we've discussed another key but underappreciated aspect of creating a lot of propulsion, which is that athletes need to use the strongest muscles of their body in order to create speed. The way they do that is by positioning the arms so that the lats and the pecs have the opportunity to contract over a long range of motion so that they can create a lot of force over a long range of motion. And when swimmers do, they're going to be much more effective at creating a lot of speed because the best resources that they have in their body, the best way to use the structures that they have available to them is going to be using these types of strategies. And it's all going to be slightly different depending on the swimmer's limb length, their strength, and their mobility, but the same basic principles are going to be present for all athletes in all strokes. The key is understanding what differences are going to show up based upon the athletes that you're working